What's up YouTube, it's your boy Dalton here, coming to you with another deck profile. This deck isn't any specific deck at all, it's just something that came to me recently and I just said to throw it together. Haven't really tested it out, just felt like it would work really well. So let's get started off with this bad boy. Starting off with 4 copies of Giant Flare Dragon, who can destroy a monster when it is entered into the field, your opponent's center I should say. Have them at 4 just for monster destruction. It's a great card to have. It is a Sun Dragon. As you guys can tell, this does have new cards from the Triple D series. And yeah, not much more to them besides the whole destruction aspect. Then it's followed up with 2 copies of Crimson Battler Drum Bunker Dragon, just because I believe he's one of the better drums out there. If you don't agree with me, that's your opinion. In my opinion, he's the best. And who can argue with basically penetrate and soul guard with 3 crit on a size 2. Next we have Super Armor Dragon Drum Breaker Dragon. As you've noticed, there's a little bit more of an evolution type theme to it, kind of evolving drums upon drums. That's where this deck kind of came from, because as you know, you pay gauge and put this card on top of a card with a drum in its name, and it also has soul guard and so forth. So it's a very interesting deck so far. A follow up with that, we have Drum in his 5th Omnilord form, the original one. I do have 2 copies of the alternate arts from the secret pack, as you can tell. I was quite lucky to get 2 of those. Quite nice. Obviously, mainly for his ability to destroy a monster on the field once you hit 6 life or less. And of course, if you have 5th Omni Drum, you need to have Kaiser Drum. Kind of for the fact of just in case your opponent can run you down and is breaking you down fast, you have a way to actually stay alive if they deplete your life, and for the fact that he destroys a monster at the beginning of your attack phase, which is quite nice. And that 10,000 power, you can't argue with that. Those were size 2s in the deck. Size 1s. For 5th Omni Cavalry Dragon Sandstaff Arcade. I don't have a buddy for this deck yet because I'm still kind of on the fence on who I want to make my buddy, but I'll most likely make this card my buddy just for the fact for its ability. When it's destroyed, I gain a gauge and a life, because you can never go wrong with more gauge and more life besides drawing. And next we got 4 copies of Drum Bunker Dragon SD. I have this card in mainly for the whole evolution aspect of the drum deck. Well, I guess it's a drum deck, because if it's in a drop and you call a drum, you may pay a gauge and throw him into the soul or call him, but obviously you're going to throw into the soul to give your drum more souls and all that, which I believe is a quite nice attribute for it, because just automatic 4 or 5 souls is quite nice if you ask me. Next we have 2 copies of 5th Omni Cavalry Dragon Light Rim Elliot, or Aliat, however it's really called. I don't remember how they said it in the anime. kind of obvious why he's in the deck. It's for life. That's mainly the only reason why I have him in there. And besides the fact that he's a great card, he could be used in a 4000 Festival deck, but I didn't think that would work out too well, because there's not many 5th Omni cards you'd want to put with him besides Drum and all that. Next, we have 2 copies of 5th Omni Cavalry Dragon Fire Sword Double. As you can see, this deck then has no problem gaining gauge and life. It's just really draw power that we're lacking here. Because as you know, if you're dealt damage, you gain a gauge with this card. Have that at 2. Next we're going to have Crimson Battler Setter Dragon. Again, another gauge gainer. Quite obvious this is going to be high maintenance gauge. You can gain a lot of gauge. There still needs to be a lot of work to see how well I can actually manage the gauge. And right now it's only at 50 cards. I might want to bump it to 60 just to truly use all of its potential, especially with its gauge you can gain. Next up, we're going to have Light Shield Dragon. This is a Sun Dragon. It's a very generic card. Only reason why I have it in there is just for a pretty small defensive wall, because that's 6 defense. Not many other size 1s can get through it, and obviously some drums can't, some key size 2s might not be able to, but it's just nice to have a pretty decent wall, if I say so myself. Let's move on to items. I'm going to start off with 2 of a fairly recent item. Chieftain Fist Drago General. Basically, this deck kind of runs like an Armor Knight Ace deck with this card in it. Basically, pay a gauge and put the top card of your deck into its soul, and then each turn you pay a gauge to add a card to its soul. And it gains 1 critical for each card in soul, and has soul guard. So you could potentially jack this item up to 10, 12 crit, and your opponent will be more focused on trying to stop that instead of your monster's attacks. Next up, we got Sun Fist Rising Knuckle. I only have this in here mainly for some of the spells that I have in this deck, and because I only have 2 Sun Dragons monsters on the field right now, so using the advantage of its attribute also being a Sun Dragon just to use some spells and all and so forth. Next we have 1 copy of 5th Omni Dragon Sword Emperor Fang, basically to gain life again, while counteract damage to it, especially against Thundermine decks. I might throw this into a sideboard, preferably, just so I have an open slot for a different card. Not quite sure what that card would be, but it's also a nice 3 crit item to have. On to spells, starting off with 3 Blue Dragon Shields. That's all that I had at the moment, obviously to gain gauge and nullify attacks. If I had another copy of Blue Dragon Shield, I would definitely put it into the deck, but at this moment I'm alright with 3 for the moment, but most likely we'll change that number to 4. And obviously if you have blue, you definitely have green, which I'm running at 2 copies, just because I don't feel like I need to gain life that badly, but it's just nice to have some nullifiers in there. Pretty big staple in Dragon World. And then next is one of the newer shields out there from the Triple D series, Sun Dragon Shield. Basically why Green Dragon Shield's down to 2, and why I'm alright at the moment for Blue Dragon Shield being at 3, because I gain a gauge and a life. And this is one of the cards that I was talking about for Rising Knuckle. being in the deck, because if you have a Sun Dragon on your field, you need to, in order to play it, my bad. But if you have 2 or more, you can't be nullified. This is a ripoff on Inferno Shield in Darkness Dragon World, which is quite weird because typically cards are ripped off from Dragon World, not vice versa. And next we have Dragon Guard. Basically counter change target to you and draw a card. Basically bring this over from 5th Omni deck. Just trying to activate 5th Omni abilities and just trying to get some draw power. No other main reason for it. Up next, we have another card for why we have Rising Knuckle. At 2 copies we have Blessing of the Sun, which basically is gauge gain. You gain 1 gauge initially if you don't have any Sun Dragons on the field, but if you do, you gain an additional 2. So basically making it a clear Serenity 3 gauge, quite nice. Next we have Ring of Crimson. Only real reason why I have this card in here is for the fact if I have my Chieftain General out, Drago General out there, I can keep it on the field if my opponent manages to dwindle its Soul Guard down. I'll be like, no, I don't want it to leave quite yet, sacrifice it, and to give some boost to some of my Crimson Battlers that I have in the deck, which isn't many. And then next, this card at the moment has no purpose, but it is a DRS at 2. I am thinking of putting in Missile Bunker Dragon, but I'm kind of waiting for newer cards to come out that I know about to truly use this card to its full effectiveness. But at the moment, it's kind of just a placeholder. For the last 2 cards, they're both impacts, but they're not the same impact. So we'll start off with Dragon Lord Inspiration Giga Howling Crusher. Basically pay 3 if you have drum and an item, add up their crit and deal damage to your opponent. And the damage can't be reduced, of course. A great way to use Drago General's ability to keep increasing its crit for each card on its soul. And that's why we need so much gauge too. So I guess I don't need to worry about my gauge as much, but you never know, I might switch that card out. And the other one is a counter. It's 5th Omni Divine Arts Giga Howling Phantom. Basically it's nullifying an attack and deal 2 damage to your opponent, as long as you have an item equipped. Just a great way to counter it and all that. That's basically it for that deck. It's quite interesting. I think it's a little weird. I'm gonna do some testing, see how well it works. If it works real well, I might bring it down with me to Springfest. Not for my main deck, but for just battling people like throughout the week, just trying to see if it stumps them or if they just blow through it. But yeah, that's about it for that deck. So until next time, y'all, this was Dalton. I'm out.